So I'll be watching Just Ninja TV. This episode is going to be about this 1958 Ford Edsel, named after General Ford's oldest son. And this was a very progressive styling of the time. It was definitely during the streamline era, as you can see. It's got some really cool features on it, like the swooping chrome. This is actually one of the cooler pinstriped models with a huge, thick detail. That's probably 4 inches across, or 4.5, and this is up to like 10 inches, or 9 or 10 inches there. It's got these cool spaced out rims, these cool little, I don't know, they remind me of like gun sights or something. It's got this, they call it the horse harness front grille, later nicknamed as the toilet bowl, but I don't think it looks like that, so I wish I hadn't have said that. But it's part of the history. A lot of people either love it or hate it. It takes the simple lines, but then it adds some angles to it. So it, this is just like a pretty much 90-degree angle. But they really worked with the basic technology that they had of the day, which was supposedly revolutionary for this car. It has some really funny features, like an electronic trunk hatch, which I don't believe this model has. Like I said, there's 16 different models. This one's in really nice shape. The interior's in impeccable condition, other than a small stain over on that far side on the seat on that side. Some had automatic transmission controls on the steering wheel that were like stationary. It has these cool searchlights, and you can twist it back and forth this way or tilt it this way. Yeah, and the same on that side. All of them have pretty cool speedometers. There's these cool little accents right here. I don't know what gauges work and don't work right now. It's got this cool like little black stitching for a tear right here that looks like Frankenstein. It's black on black with accents of red, so we're just gonna turn this into a little rat rod for ourselves. You can fit about 4.5 to 5 bodies in the trunk. Yeah, these taillights, I think this was an earlier one, or maybe a later one, I forget. I think maybe it's a later one, but the taillights did change over the years, and you can barely see the exhaust. It's like, maybe like a 1.5 inch, but I swear it's either straight piped or there's a hole in the cat or something, but me and Zach both think it sounds freaking awesome. It's got these really weird windows. And this front window kind of reminded me of sitting in that, the Scion XB, where you're kind of sitting there and you're sitting there and you can reach your arm out all the way and not hit the, it's like a very spacious interior. Looks like you could fit 4 people across here if you really needed to, and 4 in the back, making this an 8-seater car. And we were all even just like pretending to go in sleep positions in here, and we decided that if you crack the windows, it would be a pretty comfortable like camper van. The windows have that cool little swiggle in them, and I don't know, just a lot of fun stuff going on. My dad seems to find cars with the coolest frickin' badges. We have a XJ12 that you saw the brief video of. We didn't even rev it for you. I'm sorry about that, but it's in storage now in the basement, and that's got a cool police badge on it. I think I showed you that in that video. Other than that, I believe it's 4 on the tree, and then this is a little defroster. That vent in the center there, my dad thinks this is the original speaker. Then we have the aftermarket bows. And roof isn't sagging at all. Zach poked that very gently and that just, yep. So we gotta get a new one of them. And yeah, I think the stitching's coming up better there on camera. Got these funky little door wells. The hood latch. Spring assist hood. Gotta love Ford. I think it's got a either 4 or 475, but this thing sounds amazing. Today after my run, I'm gonna be taking out this little alternator guy, and I'm gonna see how easy it is to take off that carb and clean it, which shouldn't be too hard. But it is a cold day, so you don't want to crack bolts, so use your WD. Let it penetrate, which I might apply before I go on my run. It is missing a front turn signal down there. It's got these cool little brakes in the grill and make it look a lot neater. I think this is a later one actually. And I believe out of the 16 miles, I think this is maybe one of the lower models, but the body's in great condition. Very little rust underneath. So far, we gotta put this in storage better. Front is all original. Looks like the back has some, I touched it up, but it had some rust areas, like right there. But you can see where I took the, just like scraper to it and painted it briefly with black paint. That's like the only rust on the chrome. And then we have some, really just patina on this guy. In some spots, here, I'll show you. It actually looks really cool. And if we're going for the rat rod look, we might not want to fill all this black brakes in it. It kind of looks like drips, and that's like a kind of demolition derby rat rod type of thing. Let me see if I can open up the trunk. I haven't tried that. Parking brake, don't want to touch that. Let's see. It's got gas and ass. And then, yeah, I don't know where the handle is for this thing. Anyways, I'll give you a tour guide and I'll have my computer read you some more facts about this thing.
Ford. While it was being developed and before it had a name, it was called the E-Car, which meant it was an experimental car. It was named after Henry Ford's son, Edsel, who died in 1943 at age 49. Edsel's son, Henry II, wasn't happy about this as he didn't like the picture of his father's name spinning around on a hubcap. At the time of the Edsel's introduction, the first name Edsel was popular in the USF. According to Social Security Administration records for that time, the name Edsel never got higher than 400 out of the top 1,000, and that was in 1927. After the Edsel was introduced, it dropped out of the list altogether. I've never met anyone in the US named Edsel, but then I've never met an Adolf either. The Edsel was created to compete head-to-head with which of the following? Oldsmobile. Ford did not have a mid-range car. It only had Lincoln, Mercury, and Ford. It wanted a car to compete in this price range. At the time, the Oldsmobile, which ended production in 2004 after a 107-year history, was a very popular car. It was in the top 5 of American cars sold. Ford, however, miscalculated and the Edsel wound up competing with the Mercury, which was another Ford product. Prior to deciding on the name Edsel, the Ford Motor Company instituted a campaign to solicit potential names for their new product. What name or names, among others, did poet Marianne Moore suggest? All of these: Mongo Civic, Intelligent Whale, Utopian Turtle Tub. Marianne Moore was an award-winning American poet. One of her books of poetry won a Pulitzer Prize, among other awards, in 1951. If you research her today, you will find almost as much about her suggested names for the Edsel as you will her other works. I guess it's not a good idea to ask an imaginative poet to name the car. The 1958 Edsel was assembled at which of the following places? All of them: Los Angeles, C8, Somerville, M8, San Jose, C8. There were 6 plants altogether to produce 1958 Edsels. The Los Angeles plant got a late start and only produced 223 of them in 1958. Prior to the introduction of the 1958 Edsel, September 4th, 1957, there were months of pre-release advertising during which Ford promised that the design of the Edsel will be far more radical than any of its other products. When it did come out for public viewing, the only thing that was noticed was the strange grill, and this turned people off. In an effort to boost sales, the Edsel division ran a short-lived promotion where the new Edsel owner had a chance to win what? A pony. What in the world would the average American car buyer do with a pony? Maybe Ford was counting on a large rural market, but one doesn't think of farmers during the 50s muscle car era. Ford started this project when people were infatuated with fast cars like the Oldsmobile Rocket 88. What could they have been thinking? The grill on the Edsel was said to look like a taco. This was reported in a recent edition of Time magazine. Many publications of the late 1950s compared it to even less flattering things. This, among other things, contributed to the demise of the Edsel. The end for the Edsel came on November 19, 1959, and the immediate effect was that the book value of used Edsels immediately dropped by $400, the equivalent of $2,800 and $2,006. Ford then said it would issue credit vouchers of $300, $400 on the purchase of another Ford product. The least expensive 1958 Edsel was approximately how much? $2,500. The top price was $3,766. The major problem with Edsel prices was that they were in the same range as 3 out of 4 Mercury's models, which, as I've mentioned, was their own product. So, Ford wound up competing with itself. There were 2 engines available for the 1958 Edsel. They were the E400 V8 and the bigger E475 V8. What was the horsepower rating of the E475? 345. That would be a lot of horsepower today, but these were big heavy cars. They could still go 0-60 in about 10 seconds. Gas mileage was only about 8.5 mpg in city traffic, but gas only cost 33 cents a gallon. The 1958 Edsel was available in how many colors? 19. Can you imagine having to choose from this many? One color was chalk pink, the others were jet black, silver gray metallic, amber red, turquoise, snow white without dwarfs, frost white, powder blue, horizon blue, royal blue metallic, ice green, spring green, spruce green metallic, charcoal brown metallic, driftwood, jonquil yellow, sunset coral, copper metallic, and gold metallic. This information was reported on an Edsel fan site. The Edsel cost $250 million to develop, the equivalent of slightly more than $2 billion in today's dollars. Ford set out to develop what public relations executives sit down or not describe as some kind of a dream car, like nothing they'd ever seen. To that end, the designers included numerous distinctive features that set it apart from other late 1950s American cars. The most obvious was the unorthodox vertical oval front grille, inspired by European limousines, but the car also incorporated technological advances such as a push-button transmission control on the steering wheel and a unique warning light system that would alert drivers when they were low on oil or gasoline. When the car was under development, an advertising agency came up with a list of 18,000 possible names, but the company also turned to poet Mary Ann Moore. According to Bill Bryson's book Made in America, Moore's suggestions included Mongoose Civic, Utopian Turtle Top, Resilient Bullet, and Blue Napaluma. Eventually, a Ford executive, Ernest Breech, decided to name the car after Henry Ford's late son, Edsel. That dismayed the researchers, who had tested that name already and found that 40% of consumers responded with, "What?" when they heard it. It failed somewhat of the resonance, gaiety, and zest we are seeking, another Ford executive admitted at the time, according to historian David Lanier Lewis. To promote the car, Ford sponsored an October 1957 TV special, The Edsel Show, which starred Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Louis Armstrong, the Ford Press, and Rosemary Clooney. It attracted 50 million viewers. After the Edsel sold poorly in its first 3 months of release, in December 1957, Ford offered 8-inch plastic souvenir models of the Edsel if they would stop by the dealership for a test drive. Brown also supervised the design work on the 1955 Ford Futura concept car, which later was acquired and transformed by George Barris into the Batmobile. Brown later designed British Ford's successful Cortina. 5 of the Edsel's 7 model names later were repurposed for other cars, including 2 built by competitors, the Chevrolet Citation and the AMC Pacer. Brown attributed the Edsel's failure not to his design, Ford's mistake in trying to enter a market segment that already had too many competitors. Similarly, Price Casono, he noted, was discontinued in 1958, the year after the Edsel's debut.
Alright, so that last part was just saying how one of the designers of this car actually owned one, and a couple years later everybody would offer to buy it from him, and he would say, "Where were you in 1958?" Which was funny. So anyways, thank you for watching this video. Thanks for watching Drift Ninja TV, and stay tuned for more information on cool cars.